Hello everyone. I hope you're having a great day. So, big reveals have come out recently. We finally got the spring update reveal for Minecraft, showing all those wonderful new mobs and biome changes coming our way. However, I was not also expecting some reveals coming later in the summer either. That was a welcome surprise. So, if you don't know, I'm actually a pretty big player of Minecraft. I've been playing off and on pretty much since the game first came out all those years ago. But I really got heavily back into Minecraft right around the time the Nether update and the Caves and Cliffs update really came out, because I feel that really brought the game to a much higher level when they updated both the overworld and the Nether and just added so much goodness to it. Still waiting on that end update and a little bit, and again, I guess I was coping a little bit because I was hoping maybe there would be maybe some hints in this, maybe as a surprise, but alas, I'll just have to keep hoping in that regard. But that is not to say there was not some very good things in here, because we're going to get to in a moment. This reveal had I think one of the best updates Minecraft has gotten in like years, like legitimate years. So let's just get into that. Okay, so let's just go over briefly everything that was revealed. Now, I'm just gonna paraphrase now that I'm not gonna go over every little thing that is coming in the new update, because again, there's a lot to cover. One and two, just quite frankly, a lot of I want to focus more on the stuff that I think stood out the most and interest me the most, because a game like Minecraft, I feel, is a game basically designed to have like a little bit of something for everyone, and because of that, I feel that means there's a lot of stuff that probably won't appeal to everyone either. So I just want to just go on, like, I feel like the big reveals and the big additions that I think everyone is going to be affected in some way. And in those regards, the things that we're going to be expecting are new mob variants. Again, these were been revealed for a while, but I still think they're well overdue. We're getting some major overworld overhaul biomes. Saying that 10 times fast. It's obviously pretty much every biome in the overworld is going to be getting some changes with some of these new additions and blocks, but a couple I feel are going to get a lot bigger change ups than others, and we'll get to those in a minute. There's a big visual update that came. Again, this has been revealed for a while, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually I'm a little bit surprised it took this long for this kind of visual update to come to Minecraft. I don't know. I guess it just kind of, to me, it just kind of feels like an obvious addition. That just never came before. Which I'll get to in a minute. But I think the biggest thing that everyone's talking about now is the new mob mechanics, and I think you know the one I'm talking about. So let's get started. Okay, so the big thing I think that's kind of been the poster child of the spring update is probably the new mob variants. So we've always known, like, for a while, like sheep have always had variants. You got the brown sheep, you got the black sheep, you got the white sheep, etc., etc., etc. Oh, and of course, we can't forget all the wolves getting approximately like 27 variants or something, depending on the biome that they're spawned in. But now that this new variety has now come to the humble pig, chicken, and cow. It doesn't really, I don't feel it is going to have any real difference to the mechanics of any of these mobs, but I think it's still a very good change for one simple reason, and that's the variety it adds to the mobs they're spawned in. Like, for example, obviously we have the classic variants of each mob that spawn in temperate biomes, but now there's also cold and hot variant, and I guess humid or whatever variants that spawn in their respective biomes. So what I really like about this is that it's the same principle that the wolf variants brought, in that the different these mobs spawning in different biomes affect their overall appearance, which I think is great for immersion, because like one thing I think I never really quite liked in one way with Minecraft, especially in the overworld, is that too many of the mobs, especially the animal mobs, they look too similar no matter what area they're coming in. Now, obviously, there's there's a level of suspension of disbelief in Minecraft, where the desert and a desert and a tundra and a pine forest can be within like a 10-minute walk of themselves. But we're kind of given the idea that these are like different areas of a world, so they have their own ecosystem, their own animals, like their own environments. But again, in too many of them, we're basically seeing just like the same pig appearing in like so many different mobs with like no variety. So in this regard, I think this is a really big thing. Again, it's probably not going to have too much impact on game, but it's going to be so good, I think, for both like immersion in survival and also in creative when you're doing like mob spawning and coming up with like unique farms and everything. Like I think it's just a nice little touch that I think is again very much overdue, because I feel like just different varieties of mobs is just something I think the game should have had from the beginning. And I know there's probably a lot of reasons why. It's probably just like simplicity for like coding that they never came before, but now that the game is starting to mature more and they have a better idea of what they want the overworld to be, this is just something we should be looking forward to in the future, and I am all for it. Personally, I kind of like the brown pig the most. Just putting that out there, but feel free to disagree. Now, after the new mob variants, probably the next biggest thing to come out of this update that we've seen is obviously the new blocks and features being added to the overworld biomes. Now, in terms of style of changes, I feel this one kind of reminds me more of probably like the Caves and Cliffs update, more so than the Garden Awakens update that we got recently. And by that I mean is that even though okay, so what I'm trying to say is I feel that the Gardens Awakens update, I feel that was a more significant change that came to the overworld, in that it literally added a brand new biome, and not only new biome, it added new mechanics to the game. It added new processes to the game. It added new blocks and construction materials to the game. It even added new lore to the game. But the thing is, this new biome was all very kept contained to that new biome, the Pale Garden. Like it doesn't like what happens in the Pale Garden doesn't affect most other biomes in the world. But in this regard, this update adds, like, for example, tons of new blocks that can be found in multiple different overworlds. For example, leaf litter, wildflowers, bushes, firefly bushes. These are now new additions to various different biomes throughout the overworld. So this visual update is, as I said, much more similar to what we got with like the Caves and Cliffs update, in that it's basically a broad visual overhaul of the overworld to make it look more immersive and more alive. And honestly, I think this is a very good thing, because again, I'm personally, in my opinion, my two favorite things I do in Minecraft is probably it's survival and then it's creative, in those two orders. And one of the things I like in survival is especially when I'm exploring, I like immersion in my environments. I like new things to find, new things to explore. I like to bump into stuff and see and be surprised by what I find. So like I said, if I'm walking through, let's say, a forest at night, and all of a sudden I see like maybe a large amounts of firefly bushes, those are nice to see. The leaf litter, again, I'm less intrigued by, but it's still nice to see, because we see when I'm going through a forest, seeing little things on the ground, that you can interact with or just add to the visual texture of a forest is really important, because I feel that's something that Minecraft really does best. It's like creating like a visual like identity for each one of its biomes. So when you go into each one, you really feel like you're in a different part of the world. So anything that adds to that, I'm all for. And again, I love anything that increases like interactivity in each biomes. I think we need more of, because again, with Minecraft, the whole idea, I feel, is what their mission statement is. You could go into a world and figure out what you want to do. Do whatever you want. You want to fight, you want to explore, you want to harvest, you want to smash. Just giving yourself new things to look at, new things to collect, new things to break is what is, I think, the more the merrier in Minecraft. So those are two big thumbs up for me. And the fact that they're adding this more to various biomes is a very good thing, because again, what I didn't like in original Minecraft like years before is just I hated how bland a lot of the biomes could look. You know, like the open fields in Minecraft could just look so dull. But then they upgraded it with like all kinds of wildflowers and bushes and different mobs. And you know, the forest could just be so bland. It was literally just spaced out trees with nothing underneath. There was barely mobs in it. But now, you know, you've got leaf litter, you got fallen trees, you got fungus everywhere, you got flowers everywhere, you got creepers, you know, creeper vines everywhere. It's just so much more like, you know, visually immersive. So again, even though like it's not as game changing as like, you know, things like adding a new biome like the Pale Garden, but just stuff like this, even if it's done gradually, I think is still something that Minecraft should always do, because it's always good because it just gives longtime players like me some more stuff to do. And now, having said that, also, probably the biggest visual update we got in terms of for the biomes is definitely the desert, because the desert, I feel, especially in the overworld, is probably the one biome I feel has probably been left behind the most out of all of them. In that, like, for example, like, you know, all the others, you know, like the plains, the taiga forests, the birch forests, you know, the tundra. All these, they all got stuff to, you know, to update them from their original design. You know, the tundra got their bears and all the new different types of ice. You know, the forests got all the different types of, you know, flowers and bushes and, you know, berry bushes on the ground, and tons more mobs in them, and different types of trees that go into them. So each one just feels much more alive with a lot more stuff to find and look at. However, I just felt like the desert biome, even though a few things were added here and there over the years, it still just felt kind of like, you know, barren. And before you probably try to correct me saying, okay, well, it's, you know, it's supposed to be barren, it's a desert. Well, no, there's a difference between being barren and being kind of dull. Because like, here's the problem. Like, a lot of times I would go into deserts, and, you know, just the visual texture of just endless, you know, lazy brown and gray, just, I don't know, it just felt a little bland to look at, especially if you're playing in survival and you're kind of like stuck in, like, you know, desert environments. It can get pretty dull very quickly. So, you know, the addition of things like, you know, like cactus flowers and, you know, dry grass and, you know, different grasses, and like that's just, again, even though it might not seem like a lot, it's huge when, you know, when you're thinking about visual immersion. And in that regard too, I think it was probably I think it was also a very good idea to add more, you know, new mobs to it as well. Well, technically there was and wasn't a new mob added to the desert, and I'll get to that in a minute. But what I'm trying to say, to summarize, is that out of all the additions here, I feel the desert biome got the most upgrade from these new additions. And again, now someone may also want to point out too, but wait, what about the like, you know, the mushroom islands? Well, you know what, those are islands covered in giant mushrooms. They're already vibrant enough, so that's all good. Now, barring basically all the change-ups to and additions such as mobs and new blocks, the next biggest thing that probably came out of this, that's going to affect basically the all of the game in total, is the new vibrant visuals mechanic. So essentially, it's an optional mechanic that basically makes things like lighting and world textures different, and essentially makes light more realistic. You know, like, for example, like when the sun is at a certain angle, it'll cast light and shadows more realistically than it would in the past. And also things like, you know, like certain mobs' eyes will glow, or, you know, like the skulk will glow in the dark more, like we saw in the mechanic. Which, by the way, that was actually pretty cool. It makes the underground, like, you know, the ancient cities, like 50 times cooler. But, you know, potato potato. But so essentially, I think this is a very interesting addition. One thing I think that I think someone mentioned that I totally agreed with. It honestly felt like it looked like someone took like a mod and basically just added it to the game as an official piece. Like, because the thing is, I've seen texture mods all over the place when it comes to Minecraft. Like, you probably see on YouTube everyone playing with, like, the realistic physics mod, or like the proper gravity mod or something. Like, there's people, like, Minecraft's been around for so long, people have modded the heck out of it over the years. So in some ways, while this was very impressive to me, it's nothing that's really all that new, because I've seen this kind of stuff before, just not as an official part of the game. That's basically what I'm trying to say. But not that I'm trying to disparage this at all, because again, this, in my opinion, is probably going to have a bigger change on visual immersion in Minecraft, even more than any of the additions seen right here, because it literally changes how you go about viewing and interacting with the game. Because, okay, perfect example, and they mentioned this in the reveal. If you have this visual this selection on, it literally now matters where you put your windows, because the light doesn't just come from the top of the world anymore. It now literally will come at an angle as the sun sets. So if you put your windows in the wrong place, it'll get dark a lot faster. And and other things too. For example, now it'll look more murky in water, and the deep dark will look a lot more brighter, ironically, and stuff like that. Now, the one thing is, I do think they did a very good idea in making this an optional a feature, because I think it would have been a very bad idea to make this just the default that you can't do anything with, like in terms of changing it off and on, because I could feel like a lot of people maybe just legitimately don't like this change. Like, they're used to just having the light be on or off at any given moment, and not having to worry about things like angling when putting in windows, or like some people saying, like, this is going to make going around it, especially moving around at sunset underwater, a lot harder. And I don't know if that's going to be a thing or not, but it's definitely a possibility. But just at least having the option, I think, is going to be a good idea, because I will admit, some of the visuals presented during this reveal, of how vibrant visuals like changes things, how the world looks, especially at things like sunset, I did think that was very cool. Now, personally, I'll probably not use it much in my survival, just because I'm just used to it being the old one. But I could definitely see me just trying it off here and there, just to get it, especially when creative, when I want to kind of just play around with the visuals of the world. That, I think that's where we'll see a lot of its use in creative, but maybe I'm wrong. Okay, so now we've talked about mob additions, we talked about block and feature additions, and we even talked about lighting changes. Now, let's talk about some meaningful mob changes to existing mobs. Well, for one, the cartographer got a series of updates that I think are very interesting, especially now that they finally give you maps that can help you find all the other villages from the different biomes. This is something that that's always annoyed me, because one of the big things I like to do in Minecraft is village hunt. Like, I don't like just building anywhere. I like to basically find a village and kind of like build into it, because it just makes things so much easier for me, especially when I'm actually trying to quote unquote beat the game. So that's it. So now that we have the option to like get maps to help me find other villages if I don't like the one that I'm in, I think that's a very good thing, because I can't tell you how many times I've played the game and I look for maybe like an hour trying to find a village, and then I find it and I realize the village absolutely sucks. Like, there's no loot. There's no work blocks that are really useful to me. There's not really any good resource in the area. Basically, the village is worthless. So then I have to get up and just go another hour or two looking for another village. Well, it wouldn't have been so much easier if I could just like get a map, so I know at least an idea of where I'm going. Well, they probably heard my dreams, because that's what they added. Along with, in addition, they did some other changes as well to the cartographer, like, for example, with its pricing, and when certain maps, and like what skill level that the cartographer can be at when it gives you certain maps. But I think this is one of the gooder changes. And also, the wandering trader finally got some trade rebalancing, because I've been waiting for this for a while now, because I've been hating the wandering trader trade balancing right here, like asking me for like 5 emeralds to buy like a piece of sugar cane. Oh, okay, great. Or oh, here's a fish for like 10 emeralds. Okay, it's not that bad, but you get what I'm trying to say. And another big problem I found with the Wandering Trader is it's just for too long and too often, its trades just are just bad. Like, okay, you're offering me, like, a seashell, a leaf, a piece of bone meal. Like, that's all great, but it's just nothing I can really use. So I'm glad they're kind of changing that up a bit, and also adding more useful items to the trade options. So that's a big thumbs up for me. Uh, Now, the sheep varieties are now much more based around where they spawn. So basically, certain varieties of sheep are more likely to spawn in some biomes and less likely in others, which I think is both logical and and makes a lot more sense, because I just kind of feel like to the fact that they kind of just spawned at random, the different varieties of sheep just spawning at random in different biomes, I didn't think was good, because again, if we're going into the whole idea of, like, different cows, different sheep, different chickens, they're different depending on which biome they're in, and that should apply to sheep as well, because again, we've already seen where I knew this was going to happen, because we saw where the wind was blowing when we saw the different types of foxes and different types of wolves depending on their biome. So this has really been hinted at for a long time now, that they were going to make the different mobs more unique based on their biome. So basically, all this is really doing is just putting the sheep um, into the same categorization that all the other mobs are going in. So that's good. Also, it was nice to see the mushroom get a little love, because as people have pointed out, I think it's been almost a decade since they got it first introduced, and they still hadn't been updated in any capacity. I still don't think they really did enough with these mobs. I feel like, the mushroom islands and the mushrooms in general, I think they're a really cool addition. Like, they're like a legitimately unique thing, unique to Minecraft, that doesn't exist in our world. I feel like they should really add more to this. Like, I don't know, like maybe put more mechanics in. For example, like, I don't know, maybe like their fungus is like a unique fungus, that gives that gives you certain more abilities or certain potions, or maybe their meat has certain properties to it that that's different to other mobs, or I don't know, or just maybe just more things to find and do on the islands themselves. But hey, I'll take a mild visual update over nothing, so that's fine. Like I said, I'm not necessarily complaining. I still think that particular biome is still doing okay. I just feel like in a few years, I think they do need to do something with it, because again, they don't want to end up like the desert, where they're just gonna just gradually get left behind and just feel kind of barren when all the other biomes are getting so much new stuff. And also, as I mentioned before, the desert again was getting a new mob. Well, it was and wasn't. It is, in that the camel is now a true desert mob, in that it spawns, well, rarely, but it now does spawn in just the wilderness of the desert. See, before, camels could only be found in desert villages, usually chained up somewhere. But now you could probably just be wandering randomly in the desert, and bam, you run into a camel. So again, that's why, again, this is just another reason why I think the desert biome got the biggest update, because not only did it get new plants, new shrubbery, new blocks, it's now also getting more mobs spawning randomly in it to add to its immersion. So again, the desert, it doesn't have to be barren to be a desert. It can be vibrant and still a desert. So this is a good thing. And also, yeah, I guess the next biggest thing is the wolf finally got some new sound additions. I'm not big, big or crazy on like noises in Minecraft. Personally, I sometimes actually find the noises can be distracting, because it can sometimes be too much. Like, especially if I'm in, like, let's say, like a forest, and I'm just trying to look where I'm going, or I'm mining, and then all of a sudden, I'm hearing zombies growling beneath me, and like sheep all around me, like baying loudly and distracting me. I don't need my eardrums being bombarded with noises every 2 seconds. So sometimes I actually just turn off the sound when I'm playing, just so I can actually concentrate more. Which I know some veterans are going to tell me, okay, but now you're going to be in trouble if a creeper sneaks up on you. Well, you got to take the good with the bad. But anyway, overall, good changes here, so nothing to complain about. But now, getting to the real meat and potatoes here. This right here, I think, is probably going to have the biggest impact on the game. Probably right around with the vibrant visuals change. In that we're getting brand new mobs. Like, okay, well, not brand new mobs, but new types of existing mobs. We're getting new ghasts. So, and not even just new ghasts, we're getting a whole new construction mechanic with these new mobs. So basically, they're a new nether mechanic in that, in essentially in the Soul Sand Valley, you have a chance around bone blocks. Those big bones you find in the Soul Sand Valleys. There's a chance you'll see a dried ghast there. And essentially, the dried ghast is actually a constructible block that you can collect for use in the overworld. So essentially, okay. So basically, how the mechanic works is that if you find you either find or construct this block, you can construct it with both bone blocks and gas tiers, or you find it, and if you take it to the overworld and submerge it in water, eventually it will actually turn into a gasling, a brand new mob. And I think this is real. I think this is actually a very good idea doing this in the Soul Sand Valley because. One thing you have to remember is that ever since the Nether update, which again I can't stress this enough. I can't stress this enough. I loved the Nether update. The Nether went from being just something I just had to endure in order to beat the game to. I would say I love it now more than the overworld, and I do not say that lightly. The Nether is just, in my opinion, just so vibrant, so interesting. There's so many different mechanics. There's so much stuff to do that I sometimes literally just start a Minecraft world, go to the Nether, and just never leave. I just spend my whole life in the Nether, just like farming up hoglins, raiding every bastion I can find, trading with every piglin I can get, and creating whole trading farms, conquering entire fortresses, and then just turning that into my base. It's just so much to do, and I loved the feeling of civilization that the piglins created that you just don't really see in the overworld with the villagers. But anyway, what I mean is that out of everything, though, the one thing that I think was kind of falling behind a little bit was the Soul Sand Valleys. Now, by that I mean is that out of all the different biomes there, I felt I think it needed a little more quote unquote loot, if you know what I mean, because like in the Soul Sand Valleys, what you can really get, all you can really get is bone blocks and soul sand, and not discounting those items because those do have a lot of good uses, but beyond that, the biome could feel a little barren of incentives to go into it. Like, for example, if I didn't need soul sand and I didn't need bone blocks, why would I ever go into like a Soul Sand Valley? Like it's which is because it's arguably one of the more dangerous biomes in the Nether. You makes you walk slow, so getting through it takes forever, and it's filled to the brim with skeletons and hostile gas who are just shooting at me in all directions. Like, I kid you not, I once went into a Soul Sand Valley and immediately got attacked by like 30 skeletons, and I'm not even exaggerating. There was like 30 skeletons and like 5 gas all shooting at me at once, and since that day I have hated the Soul Sand Valley. But now that there's a new incentive to go in there, it definitely changes my opinion on how the Soul Sand Valley, operates and how I'm approaching it. When before, the only thing I liked about the Soul Sand Valley really was how it changes the coloring of the skyline when I went into it. But anyway, I digress. So basically, so getting back to how this mechanic works. So after you essentially rehydrate the dried gas, it becomes a gasling, and it's basically just now just a passive mob that follows you around. But once it grows up by itself, or you increase or you make it go faster by feeding it snowballs, it becomes a happy ghast. And a happy ghast, in and of itself, might not seem like a big deal, but when given the new harness, which is a new item that's going to be added to the game along with this new mob, you can actually ride it as a new flyable mount and as an airborne platform. Now, I cannot stress to you how amazing this is, because this is definitely Minecraft's official first flying mount. That isn't some kind of like mod that some guy just made for fun, or is trying to sell online. No, no, no. This is an official mob that's going to be added to the game, and it's going to basically allow you to fly through the overworld. And potentially even the end, without requiring, like the Electra. And some people are already saying, well, yeah, you could fly initially too, but the problem is the Electra is an end game item. Like, if you by the time you have the Electra, you played through the whole game already, and it just you probably put in like God knows how many hours to get to it and finally finish it. By that point, you might actually just be ready to start over. But with this, however, now we can get some flying into the game much quicker, because, again, as it stands right now, in order to get to the Electra, you basically, again, have to beat the game and beat the dragon, not taking certain things like flying machines constructed, once you get to the dragon to bypass it. But, again, that's still a much more end-game mechanic. And a lot of people don't really even ever want to go that far, because, finding the end portal is annoying. It can be annoying. It takes a lot of work. People want to fly much quicker. Well, this will allow you to. So yeah, no, this is really nice, because one, like I said, it adds a new mechanic to the Nether, specifically the Soul Sand Valley. It gives a new mob that people can strive for and try to work towards getting, and it adds more flying mechanics to the game, which are big, especially for people who like building flying bases, or especially for people in survival, like me, for instance. One thing that if I really had to pick one thing about survival I don't like, it's, for example, it's trying to find areas that I feel I really want to spend a long time in. And by that I mean is that when you spawn and you start looking around, unless you want to like cheese it and like go into creative and like zip around the world until you find a place you like, that can be it can really be annoying, because and you could get stuck in an area that quote unquote sucks, and going on foot to find a new one can take hours to find an area you really like. However, in the meantime, if I want to play survival with no cheats, don't go into creative, don't have any Electra, in the meantime I can work towards getting this gassed, and then when I have it, I can take it and just fly myself out of there until I find an area that I like. See, that right there is going to be a use that I'm going to find for it. And it's already been shown in the reveal that this is going to be amazing for creating like airborne bases. And it's also going to be amazing too for just, multiplayer, where because you can bring up to 4 people on it at a time. So again, I'm saying I don't even know if we've even fully comprehended all the different mechanics this is going to allow us to do. I have seen online there's been a little bit of debate on the visual design of the harness, especially because some people saying that it looks too much like a mod, because usually, like in Minecraft, most of the items are very utilitarian. Like a harness just looks like a harness. A bow just looks like a bow. This kind of looks like something out of a Saturday morning cartoon. With like the big glasses and whatnot. Like, was that really necessary? Some people are saying, but you know what? The problem is I don't think it's that big of a deal, because I feel Minecraft, scary moments aside, is an inherently kind of like lighthearted kind of game. So I'm perfectly fine with this, even if I guess maybe you could argue it clashes a little bit with the visual like design with the overall overworld. But honestly, I think it's just an item we need to get used to, and by then we'll just be fine with it. So, yeah, no. This alone, in my opinion, is probably my favorite thing about the reveal. I like this even more than the vibrant visual change, because, like I said, flying is one of the things I love most in Minecraft, and just giving me a new way to fly is just such a big thing for me. I'm gonna, like, 100% when this comes out, I'm gonna start a new world, and I'm gonna devote my time. Like, the first goal I'm gonna set for myself is getting one of these. Like, you don't need to give me more reasons to go to the Nether, but this just did. So that is amazing for me, because now I now have another reason to go into the Nether. And also, I also like the lore implications it has, because a lot of people have been pointing out, oh, well, this pretty much is just another solid foundation that the ghasts they are not actually native to the Nether. They were from the overworld, but they were somehow brought to the Nether for some reason, and now they're stuck there. And so I guess this is so. Like I said, I don't know if that's true, but it's really starting to point to that. And also, there's also been some talk that based on some visuals from the trailers we've seen of the new Minecraft movie, we might actually see a new Gasp, a new jockey version of the Gasp, where because it was seen in the movie that the piglins were basically chaining up the gas to use them as like hot air balloons. I wonder if we'll see something similar to that in the Nether, like a new piglin mob in the Nether, where essentially they're using the gas as like like a hot air balloon. Because again, I'm pretty sure you could probably take this to the back to the Nether and use it to fly around there. So if now there's new hot air balloon piglins to threaten you now, that actually could be a big thing. Because now I kind of feel that with this, I think this means I do think Minecraft now needs more airborne enemies, because if this becomes a lot more, because this I could definitely see someone armed with, let's say, a crossbow, especially an exploding crossbow, or just a bow and arrow, or maybe just people just dropping bombs down, like being essentially having the equivalent of a zeppelin, will give you a very big advantage for farming XP by killing mobs. Like, think about it. You take this thing, you go close to the ground, you just start sniping out enemies from the bottom. You could just farm XP like crazy. So that's why I think it actually would be a good idea to maybe add something like that into the game, especially in the Nether, which is basically supposed to be harder in general. So yeah, hey, Mojang, if you're listening, or developers more, what I mean, if you're listening, give us piglins with gas blimps. Come on, do it. We all know you want to. We want it, or at least I do. So anyway, I digress. So, what are my final thoughts and everything? This is definitely not the biggest update Minecraft has ever gotten, but it's definitely one of the better ones I think we've gotten, at least recently. Because for anything, I think I think the idea to update the visuals of the overworld is very important, because again, even though Minecraft, I feel, always gets new players, you still got to give stuff to the older people to keep them interested, like me. So I think that's really good, because another big thing I like about this is that as we've probably heard from the rumors, the developers have basically said they want to update the other worlds first before they finally get to the end. And I kind of feel like this is the beginning of that, because as I said at the beginning of the video, I really want them to update the end already. The end is long overdue for a major update. Like, it needs an equivalent of a Nether update in order to really keep it interesting, because at this point right here, I despise going to the end in general. I only go there if I need an Electra, because again, it's difficult to traverse. There's not a lot to do. It can be annoying looking for end cities if you can't find one right away. And again, the only mob there is just shulkers and endermen. And it's like, that's fine. That's fine in a biome, like in a singular biome, having one or two mobs is okay, but not if it's a whole world. Like, remember, the end is not a biome, it's literally a whole dimension on par with the overworld and the Nether. At least it's supposed to be anyway, and it's just so barren. And I don't and again, I don't care about the excuses. Well, the end is supposed to be barren. No, it's not supposed to be, like, it doesn't have to be. That's just the way it's always been. So I digress. So if anything, that this just means that if this is what the overhaul they were hoping to give to the overworld, and hopefully maybe they'll probably go to the Nether next for whatever update that's going to get. Again, I'm pretty sure we're probably going to see piglins riding ghasts in the future pretty soon. So I think that we're probably going to see, maybe not in the immediate future, but we're definitely going to see another update in a similar vein to what the overworld got, in that it's probably going to get some new mobs, it's probably going to get some new visuals, it's probably going to get some new blocks, but once that's done, then we get to the end. But I got a little off topic. But getting back to this, yeah, this is not the biggest update the overworld has ever gotten. Again, I'm pretty sure that was the caves and cliffs. and the Trails update that the overworld got, which completely overhauled the very fabric of how the overworld functions. But this is still a very nice visual update. It gave the biomes that I think needed it, the updates it needed. It's brought the passive mobs like the sheep and the cows and the pigs and the chickens into the same into the same design spectrum as the wolves and the foxes, in that their visual appearance is based on their biome. It gave a lot more plants. It gave a lot more blocks. And it also gave players a visual change up that's optional, which I think is a very good idea, because not everyone wants that. So yeah, I think this is. I feel it's not the most. It's not as game changing as with the like the Trial Chamber and the Pale Garden update gave, that basically gave completely new mechanics to the game. But what this does do is it took things that existed and gave them new twists, especially in regards to the Ghast. The Ghast, I think, is a major game changer for Minecraft that we've only seen the beginning of. So overall, yeah, solid update. Hope to see more, and hope you enjoy it when it finally comes out. So hope you enjoyed the video, and have a nice day. Cheers.